Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heart with Saima, the podcast show which is all about bringing people who are searching for that courageous person within us, including myself, my own journey as I search, and people bringing guests on, people who are inspired by different things, and they're doing different things in life, and amazing things, and they are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. So this is Saima Dhillon, your host. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. And without waiting anymore, let's dive right in. So my guests today, Byron and Mariah Eddington. Byron is a retired commercial helicopter pilot, award-winning author, and Mariah, she's a retired BSN RN author, content creator, mindset coach, and guide, ambassador for NurseDeck. They are both contributors to Biz Catalyst 360. Recently, they've done extensive mindset work, which brought them to writing this book called Journey Well, You Are More Than Enough. And just a little bit about me, Saima Dhillon, your host. I believe in living life. I'm unconventional, and I like to believe that I am authentic, because exactly what you see is exactly who I am. I believe in touching lives one person at a time. I'm a realtor by profession for 17 years. I'm a digital marketer. I have my own digital marketing company, Saima Media. I'm sitting right here. I'm a podcaster. I am an RJ as well, because I do have a radio show, which is in Dallas, which you can all tune into and listen on jointhecaravan.com, and you're able to listen. We come on Thursdays from 1 to 3. I do feel I'm a humanitarian at heart, and I do have a women empowerment group on Facebook, which is called Women of Noor. And our mission for Women of Noor is diversity, inclusion, and empowerment. We have over 3,000 women on the group from all over the world, and we believe in touching lives. My podcast right here, Heart to Heart with Saima, is literally my sounding board. I'm a warrior, a non-conformist, and ordinary person who is hoping to do extraordinary things. And without waiting anymore, I'm going to bring my wonderful guest. And good evening. How are you guys doing?
Great. Thank you,
Just
Saima. I
great.
love your
Yes.
introduction.
Thank you for the opportunity. This is wonderful.
You are doing amazing things. That is
Yeah. A
exciting.
warrior and a nonconformist. I like you already.
Yes, I like to think, Byron, that if I see most people going in a certain direction, I will just by default go in the opposite direction.
Yes.
So and that's fun, because it just takes you to different places, and it takes you to on a different journey, which is an unconventional journey, and that's how I've lived my life. And lots of I won't use I don't use the word mistake in its typical sense, because I feel that life is all about different choices with different outcomes, and sometimes your choices give you the outcomes you hope for, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think that's just all part of this journey of life.
Sounds like you have already been journeying well.
So with that, I'm going to give the platform over to you, and I will let you do a more detailed introduction about yourself. So here goes.
There you go.
Oh, my turn? Okay. I can start this off. Yes, as Simon said, I'm a retired commercial helicopter pilot. I flew helicopters, trained in the Army, and spent a year in Vietnam. And then came back and started a commercial career in helicopters. And I flew all over the world, including 20 years flying at the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics in Iowa in the US as an air medical pilot. And when I retired, I decided to start writing about largely about aviation stuff. But Mariah and I, about a year ago, decided because of all the negativity in the world and the division and all the, the transition everybody's in, we decided to write a book about how we think people ought to journey. And I'll let Mariah take over from there.
Thank you. And thank you, Saima. This is wonderful. We appreciate the opportunity. And Journey Well, You Are More Than Enough is a book, and there's a guidebook that accompanies the book, as well as an online course. And these will be available for sale likely in March. It's in pre-publication right now. And we're happy that you, and honored that you allowed us to come on to your live show and speak about it. Journey Well has been a journey for us. And we have found, as everyone has during the pandemic, more and more people feel exhausted and overwhelmed by what is going on. And a lot of people lack hope. And we look at life in a different through a different lens. Basically, we started looking for things that we could see in our lives and around us that we felt were abundant in our lives. And we live in Iowa, which for people who are around the world, it's in the north part of the United States, and we're in the winter. And we right now have an abundance of snow, which is gradually going away as we melt into spring and summer. But in the summertime, even for people, when they look around in nature, they could see an abundance of leaves on the trees. And we all have an abundance of air to breathe. And there are certain things that are known to all of us throughout nature where we can see that there is an abundance in life. But it's not so easy to see that abundance everywhere until you begin to look for it. So we're happy that we're able to do that, and we're planning, one of our main themes is to train people to do just that.
Yeah, and in fact, I should mention, Saima and the audience, there are 4 words that we kind of weave in and out of the book. They are awareness, abundance, decisions, and choices. And that's kind of the underpinnings of the book, if you will. The Journey Well, You Are More Than Enough is 12 chapters, and we cover everything from how to redirect your life around past mistakes, which we don't consider mistakes. We consider them lessons. We talk about abundance, of course. We talk about awareness. We talk about how our brains work and how we default to negative, and then we mention how to turn negatives into positives and how that will give you a richer, fuller life.
So how exactly do you turn those negatives into, tell me how to turn negatives into positive.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we do know is that many of us, actually, I probably could say almost all of us, were raised where we took on society's messaging. Whether we started when we were a child, don't do this, or no, you can't do that, or whatever it was, whether it was from family or friends or just society. And as we grew, when we were a child, we were able to kind of release our mind, and people would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you'd say an astronaut or an astrophysicist or whatever crazy dreams, and that was okay. But then at a certain point, people started saying, oh, well, you can't do that, or oh no, that won't work, or negative, negative, negative. And so we took those messages on, and they became ours. And once we started absorbing that, we didn't stop. And our messaging in our own minds became negative to ourselves. So now we have a whole society that looks in a mirror and says, oh gosh, I got these wrinkles, or oh my goodness, I'm so ugly, I'm so not pretty, and I'm so whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
And we believe that.
All these thoughts that just ingrained themselves into our psyche and just, started filling us up with those.
Yes.
I mean, that's what they say, right? That you need to control your brain instead of your brain controlling you.
And that's exactly it. And that's how we teach people. We teach them to shut down the inner critic by overcoming it. So once you start hearing those messages, the moment you start hearing that, turn it off, flip it over, find something that you know. And initially, people are really hesitant to do that. So we teach them to say something they know is a fact. They might say, well, I'm short. That's a fact. Okay, everybody's good. Or I'm tall. That's okay. That's fact. But whatever is, I have brown eyes. I have blue eyes. Whatever they can find to switch it over and say something that they know is their truth. That's a good first step if they're not able to say, I love you to themselves, or I am beautiful, or I am a great mom, or great dad, or great daughter, great son, great husband, great wife. If you cannot say those initial things, say something that's a fact to you, and that's the way to start.
Yeah, I am bald. Something like that. But Mariah brings up a very important point. One of the lessons you asked us how we get people to change from negative to positive. There's a very interesting little exercise we have, and it's very simple. We call it the I am exercise. And so consider this for a second. Whatever follows I am follows you. So if you remember that and you say, I am, a very simple thing, I am a man. I am smart. I am good at crossword puzzles. But whatever you say is you. That's who you are. That's what you're telling your brain.
So are you saying that you should say things after I am, things that are already true?
Yes.
Well,
yes. And
not only that, though, they must be positive.
Yeah.
So it could be true that something has happened in your life that is a negative situation, and we don't try to downplay anybody's negative situations that have happened to them, but we look at things moving forward. So from today forward, if you could say, I am beautiful, and own that beauty, because we all have inner beauty. I believe that each person, each one of us, has a core inner beauty that, whether or not we believe it, it needs to be said. And I feel that each person has value, each life has value.
Absolutely. I mean, we are all a product of um, our upbringing, our surrounding, our culture, religion, everything that has infiltrated into our psyche, into our brains growing up, right? We are a product of that. And I think you are that product, and your parents tell you that, oh, you know what, you need to be this or you need to be that. So all that, right, you're trying to, you yourself, and your own individuality, as well as your own aspirations, everything is just hidden somewhere between those layers until um, I think with my generation, it's like, okay, you get into your 40s and you are hit by a midlife crisis. And what that midlife crisis actually is that your authentic self is trying to find a way to just emerge and find its own place, because you cannot connect with the person that you have become, because that person is based on other people's expectations.
Oh,
But
that's a great way to say that.
right,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
your true identity, who you were meant to be,
Mhm.
that person is just cannot take it anymore and is dying to come out. And for you to be authentic, for you to be true to yourself and find your purpose and your core values and who you are meant to be in this world. But on the same token, I have also noticed that in this new generation XY, I mean, this generation, I feel, um, in their teens, they are going through that crisis in their teens. They are trying to break out of that shell and trying to be authentic and trying to follow their beliefs. They want logic. They're not willing to just follow things just because, society expects you to follow those things, right? They want logic, and they want an understanding of why, you are being expected to do something.
That's right. And in one of the sections of the book, we discuss these things in a chapter called Values and Paradigms. And the paradigms, really, they kind of drive the bus. They are the automatic behaviors. In fact, I use an analogy from my aviation background. When I talk about an autopilot, the paradigms are the autopilots of our lives. They are the things we default to under any given situation. And a lot of them have to do with what we were told when we were young. We just absorbed that and we believed that. And it's very difficult not just to recognize those things, but it's very difficult to change them. And a lot of them have to do with limiting us. And there's a fellow named Price Pritchett, and he wrote a wonderful little tiny book, very, very small, very short book, 50 pages or fewer. And it's called U Squared. And Mr. Pritchett said, if you want to doubt something, doubt your limits. That's what you should doubt. But at the very least, and this is where the awareness part comes in, because if we are aware of our surroundings and our own values, our own selves, and who we are, then we need to question all those paradigms and wonder where they came from and whether they serve us or not. And some of them probably do, but a lot of them just serve to limit us. That's what they do.
Yeah. I bet you talk about this in your women's group, because your women's group sounds very intriguing. You said you had a Facebook women's group?
Yes, and we have over 3,000 women in the group. Probably 70% of the women are from United States. Other 30%, or somewhere around that, they are from different parts of the world. So what Mariah, what we are trying to do is, I'm working on. So we've just started a volunteers group. We had our second meeting this past Sunday, and we meet for 40 to 60 minutes. And it's a brainstorming session. What I'm trying to do in the group is, just bring in coaches, just do webinars, do workshops, start creating courses and classes that we start offering to people, so we can empower women. We can teach them, whether it's teaching them English if they're not able to speak it, teach them digital marketing, teach them whatever different expertise people are bringing in, and we teach them. And the purpose is from a women empowerment perspective, to make them self-sufficient, where even in this changing world that we are living in, help them become more prominent on LinkedIn, help them find remote jobs based on their skills anywhere in the world, so that they can become self-sufficient, and they can, they don't have to be overshadowed by the family, because especially in our culture, women can get overshadowed. So we make them sufficient, make them feel sufficient, make them feel they can earn and bring something in and be independent.
That is a great group.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's something to be proud of. And see, that is part of what we believe too, is that people, when they do something such as this, it gives them an opportunity to learn new techniques, just like you said. And for them, they would be able to say, well, I'm proud that I'm in part of this group. And that would be another I am proud of the work I'm doing in education or educating myself. And it's the little things that we tend to, especially as women, downplay. We might be total caregivers, but instead of saying, I am a fantastic mother or caregiver for family, we just act like that's an expectation that we take on. And when we start telling ourselves these truths that of the things that we really are and start owning them, we're able to close our mind off of the negatives. So the moment that you hear that, or you feel like, and I'm sure that you're well aware of what imposter syndrome is, and many people are now, but we still, a lot of us have that, where we have to say, wait, no, I am okay, or I am an excellent writer. For me, that was a difficult one, but for Byron, he's had imposter syndrome in his life too. I think we all
Sure.
have,
Yeah.
and that's something we address as well.
I felt that growing up, I grew up in Pakistan, and growing up in Pakistan, I always credit my parents because I w- my father, my grandfather, they were all just all about women empowerment, and they I like to think that they were feminist because they held the daughters and the sisters and the mom. They just held them, so much place and dignity, and so much space was given to the women in our family. So even growing up, my I just could never do anything wrong for my parents. You know, whether I failed, whether I was an awful student, uh, but I was always enough for my parents.
Wow, good for you.
And I think that's where I feel that no matter what we do in life, self love is the key to everything. Because when we feel that we are enough and
Uh-huh.
that we are sufficient, I think we are able to spread love, and we are able to give from a place of fulfillment. We are able to, from the overflow, we are able to just radiate that energy, versus when we are broken ourselves, we have to, we are trying to give, we are trying to care for everyone. But I think self-healing, self-love, first you have to take care of yourself, because then you're able to just give with abundance.
Absolutely, 100%
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. And that's, I'm glad you mentioned that enough thing, because that allows me to segue right into our subtitle. You are more than enough. We
Yes.
we chose that on purpose because people think all the time, well, yeah, I'm enough. I'm okay. I'm doing all right. But we thought, let's go beyond that. Let's say, no, you're more than enough.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, you can't really define more. More is kind of one of those limitless terms. It's like saying someday or soon, or you know, enough is kind of limiting. It means you reached a limit. But we say people are more than enough. And
Yeah.
so you don't have any limits. Until you put limits on yourself, you have none.
Absolutely. I had this guest who came on my show. Her name is Bieda, and Bieda was, she taught me, and I learn from every guest who comes on the show, because I feel, even for myself, I've been doing this since May of 2020, and I feel that, for me, this started as a journey for, my own soul searching, trying to find answers in my own journey. And I've learned so much from the different people who come every week. They just, so with Bieta, she taught me something amazing, and she said that, what, if you love someone, then you just have to let go of your ego and your pride, and it doesn't matter whether you were right, you were wrong. You got to do four things with the people that you love, and you got to just thank them for being in your life. You got to say that, just keep telling them, that you're sorry. You let them know that they are enough. And so, these are like some of those things. And, when she was telling me that, that is something I started doing with my own daughters, because, letting them know that, what, you're enough. I love you. I'm grateful for you in my life, and I'm sorry for all the mistakes that I've made with you, which have hurt you. So it just, these things which are so small, but they are just so life changing.
Mhm.
True story. Yeah.
Makes a difference for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
and we have a chapter too. I'm glad you mentioned the discussion with your daughter, because one of our chapters is titled "Words Matter."
yes.
And as a writer, of course, I would say this, but the words that we choose are very, very important, because we can use words to hurt people. We can use words to build them up or to tear them down.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think it's very important to be cognizant of the words, the particular words we use in discussions and in conversation. And probably even more important, we have to be very conscious of the words we tell ourselves. We have to use positive words instead, and we talk to ourselves a lot of with this imposter syndrome and with the low self-esteem. People who suffer from that, they say things to themselves that they would never dream of saying to somebody else, and that it all is manifested in the words they choose to use.
So, Mariah and Byron, in 2016, we lost our business, and it was like a huge, drastic hit and financial hit, and bringing with it many repercussions. And when that happened, I kind of hit my own personal rock bottom, and so when I hit my rock bottom, for me, it was like, okay, you know what? My family is so impacted. I need to detach myself from them, so that instead of constantly worrying about them, I have to extract myself and I have to rebuild myself. And that's where, kind of that journey started, where I started working on redefining myself. And as I was redefining myself, I met someone, and that was 2016, when he taught me. He was teaching these classes on real estate, and I went to the class, and he taught me about exactly what you're saying, that the words in our brain. And he taught this exercise to me. He said, okay, here's a piece of paper and pencil, and just write down all the words that you feel in your brain. And I started writing those words down, and it was a difficult time. So there was a lot of negative energy, there was a lot of unhappiness and sadness, and so many of those words had that negative connotation to it. And then he said, you know what, now switch those words. Where you wrote sadness, you switch it to happiness. Where you wrote hardship, you change it to success. So you change those words on paper, cross it out, and you start working on changing those words in your head. And so I started doing that. And the second exercise, he said that, you know what, if I'm feeling anxiety and I'm about to, maybe I'm being called into the manager's office because I have to give them my progress report, or talk about the numbers, or talk about, and I'm feeling anxiousness, I would, before the meeting, just go into the bathroom, and I'll stand there and I'll say, okay, here's this word, it's anxiousness. So I'm going to switch that word visually in the brain, from anxiousness to, whatever the opposite is, positivity, or whatever it is, that it's all going to be fine. Everything will be great. So I will go in for a few minutes, switch those words out before actually walking into the meeting. And just these exercises, they just start redefining your own self.
It absolutely is true. We do have that ability. And that is wonderful that you learned that. And there's many, many people, thousands of people who have yet to learn it. And once you learned that tool, it's life-changing.
Yes.
And so that's one of our missions, is to get this information to as many people as we can. And we feel that it's a good tool, and it's a very simple message. And that's part of the journey, is to make sure that people understand these tools are within themselves.
Absolutely. They say 80% of our thoughts, the things that we are worrying about, when it comes to the future, 80% of those things don't even happen.
That's
But
right.
we are right now in that we create this frenzy and anxiety,
We do.
in our brain, just worrying about, oh my God, how is that going to happen? How is this going to happen?
Yeah.
And most of it doesn't even happen.
Mhm.
And another thing that we do really well is we dwell on the things and we blame and we shame ourselves, not just other people,
Yeah.
but ourselves. And those are things that we personally can prevent. Now, we can't prevent someone else from blaming us or shaming us. That's not within our potential. That's not our job. Our personal journey is to make sure that, just like you did, you learned that you could switch these words around and you learned you could love yourself fully. And that is a game changer. Once we know that it's not only acceptable, it is ideal to love yourself, because we can't pour from an empty cup. We can't give others love that we don't have inside to give.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that you can only give to others what you give to yourself,
Right.
because that's our energy. So
Mhm.
the emotions that we are feeling, the how we regard ourselves is how we will regard others. If we are critical of ourselves, we will be critical of others.
Right.
If we are judging ourselves continuously for what we are doing, or demoralizing our own selves, then that's we have nothing better to give to others.
That's right.
That's true. And one of our contributors, Dr. Melissa Hughes, she calls herself a neuroscience geek, and she studies the human brain. And she says we know less about the human brain than we know about the backside of the moon. But one of the things they do know is that the brain, she says the brain it didn't evolve, our human brain didn't evolve to think. It evolved to keep us safe and to keep us alive. And consequently, even today, eons later, we default to the fearful and the negative because that's what our brains sense. Our brains tell us to pay attention to that because that will keep us safe and alive. And so, but the other side of that story is that we know that now, and we can make the choice to avoid, for example, to avoid social media that's always negative and filled with negative thoughts and takes us down. We can choose to avoid those things, and certain like news outlets that's all they do is they put out this negative information all day because they know that that's what people watch. That's the product. And so we can choose. A lot of it is a choice. You can choose to turn the TV off. You can choose not to contribute to those negative threads on Facebook and Twitter and all those things. That's a choice. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. I stopped watching news. I think it's been, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. So I just don't watch. And people are like, how can you not watch the news? You don't know what's going on in the world. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I
That's
have not
good.
checked it. If it's something really catastrophic, someone posts on Facebook, and I will read a random post, and I'm like, or it will come from WhatsApp or some other source. But other than that, I just don't need to fill myself with all. I mean, what do you see on news? I mean, does anyone ever see anything good on the news? It's only bad news.
It's funny because a lot of the news, and that word means NEW, new.
Yeah.
A lot of the news is not new. It's almost all
Same
bad.
old thing
I would
all
have
the
to
time.
say, probably, well, I don't watch news. I haven't watched it for many years, but it's interesting because I can't imagine how little good is on the news. I mean, maybe 3%, 5%, I have no idea, but it's so negative that it feeds people's fears. And that's what sells papers.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, because otherwise it's not going to sell.
Right.
Right.
If it's not sensational,
hmm
it's not going to sell.
No, and and it's sad in a way because it's not like there isn't positive and uplifting messages out there.
Yeah.
If you look for them, they're available if you want to track them down and use those for yourself.
Yeah.
And heck, you could buy our book and read it, for example.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have a link where people are able to? Is your book available on Amazon?
It's not published yet, but we have on, and I can put in our private chat, I can put where people could sign up to be notified of the book launch.
Yeah, you go to our website and there's a button on there to be notified for the launch.
Okay.
And there we go.
I think I got to make sure I spelled it right there.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
Let's see.
And that's the website, and there's a place on there where folks can go in there and be notified of when the book will be available. And we hope, I don't know when this is going to
March, probably.
I would say I hope March. I hope within the next month, let's say, that the book will be available. And I should mention too, Saima, that the book, and there is also a guidebook that goes along with it, and we have an online course that goes along with it. And so those will all be available,
Thank you.
hope, within the next month. Yeah. Journey well, you are more than enough.
So are you excited?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I am
Absolutely.
excited for the people who will get this information.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's life-changing. And I believe in my soul that each person who hears the message and understands that they can turn that inner critic to their inner cheerleader, become more than they could ever imagined they could be. They can turn their whole life around and those around them as well. And it's just a gift when we start owning our own value and knowing our worth and reaching out to others and then teaching them that they can do the same.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dr. Ashok is here. Ashok, hello. Good to see you. And Jason Medlock's here. Yeah, I should mention too, and I don't want to, this is going to sound a little melodramatic, and I don't mean it that way at all. But to us, to Mariah and me, so here's what our background, she as a nurse and me as a pilot, we spent our entire working lives raising people up. That's what we did. And we're just continuing to do that in retirement. And this may sound a little melodramatic, but if this book can help someone and actually save someone's life, just one person, it's all been worth it to us, because we hope that we set out to write a book that is all positive, and we think we pulled it off. We're not sure. We'll let our readers decide, but that was our purpose in doing this.
Absolutely. And I'm sure it's going to be. And I think, that's what the journey is about. And you attract the kind of people that, based on your own philosophies and your thoughts, and that's the kind of, that's who ends up becoming your tribe. And I think that's what we are all doing over here, using different platforms and different mediums to just help people, to change lives, to touch lives, to spread any goodness. And of course, with you writing this book, Journey Well, you're more than enough. That's going to be your legacy.
It is. And I should take this opportunity to thank one of our wonderful contributors, Dr. Bhattacharya, is on here tonight. So he's a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
And so we're happy that he gave us a contribution to our book. So thank you, Ashok. We appreciate it.
And you're right, Simon. We do all attract what we see. So the beauty you see in us is a reflection of you. And we appreciate you so much. And it is wonderful to know there's people out there lifting other people, and the Facebook group that you've created and all of the work that you do. It's so important. So we're really proud to have met you and know you.
It's
Thank
important,
you.
and it's we consider it an obligation to do that for each other.
Absolutely. And why not? I mean, if the medium is there, if you have the ability, then why not do that? And Ashok, thank you for being there. Thank you for your contribution. Ashok and Nancy, they're on my show first Tuesday of every month. And we have, we've been doing this for several months. I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know how long it's been that we've been doing it. But we just sit here and we just we chit chat, and we hope that just like you said, that we can touch someone's life and hopefully change and help others.
This is one of those positive outlets I talked about. See that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with that, how about I hand over the podium to you, and for your final message, your final words, where people can find you, anything that you would like to share.
Thank you so much.
Well, we're both on LinkedIn, and we have the website. We mentioned that, and we would love to be able to go back and forth with whoever wants to contact us. Please do. And if you have any questions about the book or the affiliated products, ask away.
Yes, thank you very much. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to speak with everyone today, and we appreciate you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Saima. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Absolutely. Thank you, guys, for being here. And I'm going to remove you from the stream, just end the show real quick. And so as always, thank you guys for your contribution. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for people who listen to the podcast. It's just so crazy. I meet random people, who just come up to me and who tell me that, hey, my mom watches the show here, or my husband watches the show regularly, or just different people who are watching the podcast, and people who come and tell me that it makes a difference in your world. So thank you for that. And that is literally the purpose of doing what I do. So thank you once again for being here and for being on the show, and for taking the time out and sharing. If you feel there's something that makes a difference to you in your life, please do share it. And join me on my radio show on Thursdays. You can watch it anywhere in the world by going on to Join the Caravan, and you will be able to listen to the show. Otherwise, if you're in the Dallas, around the Dallas area, 104.1 FM and 700 AM, Thursdays from 1 to 3, and it's called Heart to Heart. And again, the purpose is the same. We hope to touch lives. So thank you for being here, and we are going to end the show. So here goes.